Hey there, and welcome to this free lesson. Modes are probably one of the biggest, if not the biggest, sources of confusion for electric guitarists. I've met a lot of developing guitarists that have built some skill up on the instrument and have really done a lot of the legwork in terms of memorizing patterns and sort of beginning to map out their fretboard. However, when it comes to the topic of modes, it's often really difficult for emerging guitarists to use them in a really musical, inspired way. I've met many guitarists that have kind of memorized these modal scale patterns, but for them it's exactly that, just a scale pattern, and they're sort of not really sure how to take these scale patterns and turn them into music and great sounding improvisations. I've really come to strongly believe that to use modes and 7-note scales effectively, we as electric guitarists need to be able to combine and integrate them with more traditional sort of 5-note pentatonic scales. So today I'm going to give you some licks that combine pentatonic phrasing ideas with modes to add a little bit of extra color. I want to add that this video alone is not really a comprehensive guide on how modes work. I'm going to assume you have some conceptual understanding of modes, but if you're not there yet, I still encourage you to check out these licks because they're a lot of fun to play and they're going to come in handy right now, and they'll come in especially handy once you've learned more about the modes. Let's dive in and have some fun. This first example is going to combine a bluesy sort of pentatonic scale based phrase with some really lightning quick picking ideas that are going to use some modal notes. Specifically, we can think of this one as in the key of E minor, and the beginning of this lick really, we would think of like an E blues scale type of idea. However, the notes that I add in the faster portion of the lick are really adding the sound of the Aeolian mode to this pentatonic based lick. Let's check it out. This first example begins with an ascending pentatonic blues scale based phrase. So this pattern is, so it's 8 on the second string with a downstroke, then up to get 7 on the second string, then another upstroke to get 9 on the third string, then a down to get 7 on the third string. And that picking pattern continues, except I'm just adding the 10th fret on the second string. When I go to the next string, it's the same picking pattern, but it's 8, 7 on the high E with a down up, then 10 and 8 on the B with an up down, then 10, 7 on the high E, and 10, 8 again. So this note here and this note here, those notes fall out of the pentatonic scale, but adding them in this quick portion of the lick really gives a neat sound. And then we finish by sliding up to the 12th fret of the high E string. This example is going to be a little bit of a slower example, just to have a nice kind of melodic idea. This is going to be based on the Ionian mode once again. And so it's going to start with some sort of happier, sort of ballady type, major pentatonic type phrases, but it's just going to borrow a couple quick notes from the Ionian mode, which are really going to put this lick over the top, and it's really going to make it just drip with like emotion and soul. The major pentatonic scale on its own is awesome. It really has got this just powerful driving, but yet bright sound nonetheless. However, when you throw in these couple of notes from the Ionian mode, it really just kicks it in an overdrive and makes the lick just ooze melody and soul, and almost just has this like really sweet sentimental sound to it. I love the tone that these licks can give you. Let's check this one out. This next lick is gonna start out really sort of looking at like an A major pentatonic sort of framework. So it's gonna have a little bit of almost like a sort of a major key blues sort of sound at the beginning. However, I'm gonna throw in a little bit of flair with some quick licks that pull a couple of notes from the Mixolydian mode. So this is going to be kind of cool. You're going to be hearing some kind of bluesy ideas, but then the quick licks that follow are just going to have a little bit of extra color, and that's because we're taking some notes and really making it more of a Mixolydian type of phrase as opposed to just strictly a major pentatonic lick. Let's check it out. This next lick starts with some pretty aggressive string bends, full step bend on the 7th fret of the high E string, and a little bit of a bluesy phrase. So far we're really absorbing the sound of the A major pentatonic scale. And essentially what that is when I do this initial sweep, I'm picking 6 on the G string with a downstroke, and then 5 on the B string with a downstroke. Then I'm hammering on and pulling off back to and from 7 on the B string. And that's a pentatonic lick there. But then when I repeat the lick, because I do that once, then I just start from the beginning with a downstroke on the 6th fret of the G string. But I'm hammering on all the way to the 8th fret of the B string, and that can really be seen as a flattened 7th note, which really transforms this from a major pentatonic lick to a mixolydian modal lick. And then I continue on with this modal sort of mixture where I do this. And that's me doing the same little sort of 2-string sweep where I'm picking 8 on the 2nd string with a downstroke, then 5 on the high E string with a downstroke, hammering on to 9 and pulling off back to 5, and then I repeat that 2-string sweep pattern, but hammering on to 10 instead of 9 there on the high E string. And there we have the flat 7, the root note, the 3rd. So there it's that flat 7 that's kind of transforming this from a major pentatonic idea to a mixolydian idea. And also this higher note here is a perfect 4th, which is another note that would come more from the mixolydian mode. It's not found within the pentatonic scale. So you're getting kind of touches of the mode to complement the pentatonic scale sound. This next example is going to start out with some licks based on the A blues scale. However, as I proceed through this example, I'm going to pull some notes from the A Dorian mode. So really it's kind of like we're starting out with some A blues type of framework, but there's going to be some sort of rapid descending phrases, and it's going to pull some really colorful notes from the A Dorian mode. So you're going to kind of hear how you can transition from a pentatonic based idea to throwing in those melodic sort of notes to add some color on top. And it really does sound really interesting as opposed to just sticking in the A blues scale. There's also going to be a bit of an ascending pentatonic based blues run that just throws in a quick note from the Dorian mode as well. Let's check it out. Okay, this one starts with a bit of A blues, minor blues scale flavor here, and we have this. And this is picking 10 on the high E string, hammering on to 11, and then pulling off back to 10 and 8 respectively. Then picking 10 and pulling off back to 8. I then hammer on to 10 on the B string, pulling off to 8, and then I'm gonna grab my first non-pentatonic scale note by grabbing that 11th fret on the G string by way of a descending hammer on from nowhere, as it were. So I then pick 8 on the B string, 11 on the G string, pull off to 7 on the G string. I continue down this pattern, pulling off to 7, hammering on from nowhere to 10 on the D string, picking 10 on the G string, and then this. The next ascending phrase is largely pentatonic, using hammer-ons, a little hybrid picking to grab that 13th fret of the B string there. When I get to this portion, I hit 14 on the G, 13 on the B, 15 on the B, slide up to 17 on the B, and then this 14th fret on the high E that I hit is another Dorian note. So that's just a way of using a pentatonic phrase to map out the fretboard and then just sliding in a quick note from the Dorian mode. And there's a quick little bluesy bend to cap things off. This next example is going to be a rapid picking example, and it's really sort of going to be based on some E minor pentatonic scale type of ideas. However, it's going to use some economy picking, and it's going to throw in some notes from the Aeolian mode. This has kind of an interesting rhythmic effect as well as a melodic effect. This type of speed idea is a really great way to actually, almost in and of itself, it doubles as a drill to memorize a position of the Aeolian mode. By playing through this example, you're really going to get a clear visual of a pentatonic scale box and how the Aeolian mode notes kind of connect on top of that box. So this is a fun one, it's an effective one, and it's a great skill builder too. Let's try it out. To start, this is on the high E string, it's 7, 8, and I'm starting with a downstroke. 7, 8, 7, 5. I'm ending on an upstroke there. Down, up, and I'm going to use a sweep up, down on the B string. Down, up, down. And so that's nearly all fits within the pentatonic scale, except for this 8th fret here. This would be in the key of E minor. That would be our perfect 4th. So that's a C note. It's not found within the E minor pentatonic scale. The next phrase, exact same idea, but I'm just cascading down the B and G strings. I'm going 7, 8, 7, 5 on the B, and then 7, 4 on the G. Down, up, down. And all those notes are pentatonic based, except for that 7th fret of the B string, which is the natural second, the second note of the E Aeolian mode. So we have, I'm going to have that perfect 4th that appeared at the very top of the lick. It's going to happen again on the 5th fret of the G string when I do this. So again, that's all pentatonic notes except for this note here. Down, up, and then up, down, getting 7 and 5 on the D string. And then that is strictly pentatonic, and that's 7, 9, 7, 5, and then 7, 5, 7 on the A string, and that's down, up, down, and you can do a hammer-on or another pick to get that last note there. This next example uses an ascending blues scale bass phrase. However, it's going to have a fast descending portion that's going to be based on the Dorian mode. And you're really going to see how, again, this is another one that's really going to illuminate how you can have a blues scale position and you can just fire into a quick modal bass sequence. You'll see how the modal notes kind of fit in and around the pentatonic scale notes, and you're going to find that these don't sound like two disjointed scales. They're really going to sound like two really mean licks that add a cool rhythm and tone, and they really complement each other well. So you have an ascending blues scale lick and then a descending lick based on the Dorian mode. Let's try it out. This next phrase starts with some ascending 8th note triplets up the E blues scale. And that phrase kind of helps build the pentatonic sort of framework up the neck of the guitar. I pick 19, pull off to 15, pick 17, pull off to 15, hammer on from nowhere to 19, pick 15, pick 19 on the B string and pull off to 15, pick 17, pull off to 15, hammer on from nowhere to 18 on the G. After I get 18 on the G, I'm going to get 15 on the B string, pick 18 on the G, pull off to 14 on the G, pick 16 on the G, pull off to 14 on the G. I'm then going to hammer on from nowhere to get 17 on the D, pick 14 on the G, and then do a quick descend 17, 16, 14 on the D string, and then bend up on 17 of the A strings. And the main takeaway here, other than this getting some fun licks to play, is hopefully it kind of inspired you to look at modes in a little bit of a different way. In a way that you're not always kind of connecting 3-note per string patterns, but you're kind of using modes as sort of an expressive tool to add to the pentatonic scales and other sort of simpler melodic devices we have at our disposal as electric guitarists. If you enjoyed this video, please consider leaving us a like or even a subscription if you're so inclined. We really appreciate the support, and we're going to have lots of videos coming your way in the future. So thanks again for watching, and stay tuned. Cheers.